All right, let's dive into this whole IPTV thing.
Yeah, you've been doing some research, right?
I've got tons of notes
Yeah.
and some stuff from the Channel IPTV podcast.
Cool. So ready to really unpack it all, see what makes sense?
Absolutely. Let's get into it.
So IPTV, it's not just watching TV, it's like taking control, having your own entertainment hub.
Oh, I like that. A personalized hub.
But got to figure out the tech stuff too, right?
Right. And speaking of tech, my notes say optimizing IPTV quality.
Okay, yeah. That's key for a good experience.
So what are the biggest things to think about there?
Think of it like building a house. You need a good foundation first.
Okay, I'm following you.
And for IPTV, that foundation is your internet.
Internet. Yeah, that makes sense.
Got to have the speed, got to have stability. Both are important.
Right. So how fast are we talking? Like, what do I actually need?
Depends what you want to watch. For standard definition, at least 5 millities download speed.
Okay, 5 millipedes. Got it.
But if you want that super clear 4K, bump it up at least 25 millibp then. Okay, so for the best quality, got to have the speed to match.
Exactly. And it can't just be fast sometimes. Needs to be stable, too.
Right, because if it's going up and down all the time.
You're going to get buffering, interruptions. The whole experience is just choppy.
Not what we want.
Nope, not at all. So, first things first, how's your router?
Router. I think it's pretty new. I'm not sure, though.
If it's old, it might be struggling to keep up,
Oh, so like can't handle all that data coming in.
Exactly. Might be worth upgrading to a newer model if that's the case.
Good point. Something to check on.
And even with a new router, placement matters. Keep it central, away from other devices.
Oh, to avoid interference.
You got it. And if you want to be extra sure, wired Ethernet connection is the most reliable.
Okay, so solid internet, check. Foundation's done. What's next?
Tools. In the IPTV world, your tools are your devices.
Devices, right. Makes sense.
Some are just better equipped for streaming than others,
Yeah. Got an old streaming stock. Maybe it's time to retire that. Could be processing power and memory are key here.
So what should I be looking for, specs-wise?
Aim for at least a quad-core processor, 2 GB of RAM. That'll keep things smooth.
Okay, quad-core, 2 GB of RAM. Noted.
Storage space matters too if you want to download stuff to watch offline.
Right, good point.
And don't forget the operating system. A good OS makes a big difference.
Oh, the OS, right? Like the software that runs the whole thing.
Yep. Has to be stable and responsive for a good experience.
So many things to keep in mind.
It's a lot, but once you get it right, it's worth it.
Okay, so we've got our internet, our devices. What else?
Now we got to talk about the software, specifically IPTV apps.
The apps, yeah, those are what I actually use to watch stuff, right?
Exactly. They're your gateway to all that content.
My notes mention Smart IPTV, XCIPTV, and TiviMate. Those seem popular.
They are, each with their own pros and cons, like everything else.
Right, so how do I know which one is best for me?
Smart IPTV is known for being simple, compatible with lots of devices.
So a good starting point, maybe, if I'm new to this?
Could be, but it might not have all the fancy features some people want.
Okay, so if I want more features, what then? XCIPTV.
XCIPTV definitely steps it up, feature-wise, multiple playlists, EPG support.
EPG? What's that?
Electronic program guide, helps you see what's on.
Okay, makes sense.
XCIPTV even have parental controls, that kind of thing.
Sounds pretty robust, but maybe not the easiest to use.
Yeah, might be a bit much for beginners. It's got a lot going on.
Okay, and what about TiviMate? That one came up a lot in my research.
TiviMate is considered top tier by many. Sleek interface, smooth performance.
And great streaming quality, I read that too.
It's a popular one, but unlike the others, it's subscription-based.
So Smart IPTV and XIPTV, I can just buy them outright.
Yep, either free trial or one-time purchase. TiviMate is ongoing.
So TiviMate is more of an investment then, but maybe worth it for some people?
Exactly. Depends what you prioritize, simplicity and affordability.
Or that premium experience.
Yep, it's all about what matters most to you.
So no one right answer, just depends.
Exactly. Your needs, how you plan to use IPTV, all of that comes into play.
Makes sense. Okay, so apps, check. What about actually setting up the subscription itself?
Yes. Your notes mentioned the Channel IPTV podcast for that.
Yeah, they have practical tutorials, right?
They do, step by step, for all sorts of devices. Smart TVs, phones, Fire Stick.
That's super helpful. I was kind of dreading that part, to be honest.
It can be trippy. Each device is a little different.
Glad there are resources out there that break it down.
Definitely. They also talked about choosing a good provider, a reputable one.
But they didn't give specific recommendations.
Not that I saw in your notes, no.
Okay, so more research to do there. But before we go to that rabbit hole,
Yeah.
buffering. Let's talk about buffering.
Oh, The dreaded buffering, the enemy of streaming.
It's the worst. My notes say Channel IPTV had tips on minimizing it.
They did. They emphasize that a lot. It's key for a smooth experience.
So besides the internet and the device, anything else we can do?
They mentioned app settings, configurations, that kind of thing.
So tweaks we can make within the apps themselves.
Exactly. But they didn't go into specifics, at least not in your notes.
Ah, okay, another mystery to solve.
Sounds like their website might have more info on that.
I'll have to check it out then, but good to know there are more options.
Definitely. Always good to have more tools in the toolbox.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got our foundation, our tools. What about the content itself?
Now that's where things get exciting.
I'm ready. What can I expect to find in this IPTV world?
It opens up a whole world of possibilities. Live TV from everywhere, movies, shows.
So basically anything I could get with cable or satellite.
Pretty much, but with a big difference, customization and control.
Oh, now that's interesting. Tell me more.
You're not stuck with bundles, you pick and choose what you want.
So no more paying for channels I never watch.
Exactly, and many providers have on-demand libraries too, like Netflix.
So potentially, one IPTV subscription could cover all my entertainment needs.
It's possible, but the specifics depend on the provider, of course.
All right, so got to do my homework there, find one that fits what I like.
Absolutely, and like with the buffering, your notes didn't have specific provider recommendations.
From Channel IPTV, you mean?
Right, but their website probably has more on that. It's a common question.
Okay, so lots to explore there. But even without specifics, it's clear IPTV has a lot to offer.
It does. Something for everyone. That's one of the best parts.
Yeah, I like that. So it's not about conforming to some preset package. It's about choice.
Exactly. You curate your own experience. Make it what you want.
I love that idea. So we've got our foundation, our tools, a glimpse of the content. What's next?
Now we got to dig deeper into those optimization strategies.
Okay, so getting into the nitty-gritty then.
Exactly. We laid the groundwork. Now let's fine-tune it.
All right, I'm ready when you are.
All right, so we've covered the basics, the internet, your devices, the apps.
Yeah, got a good overview.
But now let's actually dive into those app settings, the ones that can really make a difference.
Yeah, get into the details. I'm ready for that.
One of the biggest things people complain about with IPTV is buffering.
Oh, buffering. I hate buffering.
It's the worst. That spinning wheel waiting just kills the mood.
Especially when you're really into something.
Exactly. But the good news is there are ways to fight back, to minimize it.
Oh, tell me more. My notes mentioned something about configurations.
Right. So we talked about internet speed, stable connection, having a good device.
Yep, got all that.
But within the apps themselves, there are settings that can impact how smoothly things play.
So we're talking about tweaking things, under the hood almost.
Exactly. Fine-tuning for the best possible experience.
Okay, I like it. Give me an example. What kind of settings are we talking about?
One you'll often see is buffer size.
Buffer size. Not sure I've heard of that one.
Think of it like a reservoir for your video stream.
A reservoir.
Yeah, so larger buffer size means the app downloads more of the video ahead of time.
So even if my internet hiccups for a second.
It's got that extra data ready to go, less chance of interruption.
Oh, that's clever, like a safety net.
Exactly, but how big that buffer should be, it depends.
Depends on what?
Your internet speed, the quality of the stream you're watching.
Okay, so it might take some experimenting to find the right balance.
Yeah, a little trial and error can go a long way.
All right, so buffer size, noted. Anything else? Other secret settings I should know about?
Another one is hardware acceleration.
Hardware acceleration sounds intense.
It's basically letting your device's hardware do more of the work instead of the software.
Okay, so like offloading some of the processing.
Exactly. Can make playback smoother, especially for high-resolution stuff.
Makes sense. So it's like giving my device a little extra muscle.
You got it, but gotta be careful. Not all devices handle it well.
Oh, so it's not a guaranteed win.
Sometimes turning it off is actually better. Depends on the setup.
So another thing to play around with, see what works best.
Yep, experimentation is key. Remember that.
Okay, buffer size, hardware acceleration, any other settings that impact quality.
Streaming protocol is another one, often overlooked.
Streaming protocol. Okay, now we're getting really technical.
It's how the video data gets from the server to your device.
Like the delivery method, I guess.
Kinda like choosing a shipping company. Some are faster, some more reliable.
Ah, I see. So different protocols have different strengths.
Exactly. Some are great for live TV. Others are better for low latency, like gaming.
So depends what I'm watching and what's important to me. Stability versus speed.
Yep. And again, best way to find the perfect one is to just try them out.
More experimenting. I'm sensing a theme here.
There's a lot of that with IPTV. It's about fine-tuning to your preferences.
That makes sense, but all this tweaking, it can feel a bit daunting, honestly.
Yeah, I get it, especially if you're new to this whole thing.
Right, like where do I even begin?
But that's the beauty of IPTV. You're in control. These settings are there to empower you.
Oh, I like that way of thinking about it.
It might take some trial and error, but the end result is a system that's truly yours.
A personalized entertainment hub, like you said earlier.
Exactly. It's not about passively accepting whatever. It's about making it how you want it.
Okay, I'm starting to feel more adventurous now, ready to dive into those settings.
That's the spirit. So we talked app settings, but there's another layer here.
Another layer. What else could there be?
The content source itself, that matters a lot.
The source, you mean like where the provider gets their streams from?
Exactly. No matter how good your settings are, if the source is bad, you'll have problems.
Right, like having a fancy oven but using rotten ingredients.
Perfect analogy. If the stream is low quality, you'll get pixelation, buffering, all that bad stuff.
So finding a good provider with good sources, that's crucial.
It's essential, but tricky to know beforehand how good they are.
Yeah, any tips on how to figure that out before I subscribe?
Free trials are your friend. See how things look and feel.
Okay, so try before I buy, basically.
Exactly. Look for providers who are transparent, tell you where their streams come from.
Good point. Openness is a good sign.
And multiple server options, the more they have, the better your chances of a stable connection.
Makes sense. So do my research, be cautious. Don't just jump into the first thing I see.
Smart move. And don't be afraid to ask questions, read reviews, see what other users say.
Like any big purchase, got to gather information.
Exactly. And remember, IPTV is always changing. New providers, new tech. It's exciting.
Okay, so stay informed, keep up with the trends.
All right. We've tackled internet, devices, apps, content sources, anything else.
Feels like we've covered a lot. What else could there be?
There's one more thing, often forgotten, your viewing environment.
Viewing environment. You mean like my living room?
Yeah, your TV or monitor, the lighting, it all impacts the experience.
Oh, interesting. I didn't think the TV itself would matter that much.
It does. The display tech, the size, even the ambient light, it all plays a role.
Okay, break it down for me. What should I be looking for in a TV for IPTV?
Resolution is key. If you're watching HD or 4K streams, your TV needs to support that.
Right, got to have a screen that can actually show all those pixels.
Exactly. And then there's panel technology. Different types have pros and cons.
Oh boy, now we're getting into TV shopping. That's a whole other topic.
It is. But in short, LED is common, affordable. OLED is great, but pricier. QLED is in between.
So many choices.
Then think about screen size. Bigger is more immersive, but got to match your space.
Don't want to be straining my neck to see the whole picture.
Exactly. And lastly, ambient light. A bright room can wash out the image.
So dim the lights for movie night. That makes sense.
It helps. Blackout curtains or bias lighting behind the TV can make a big difference.
Wow, okay, so internet, devices, apps, content, even my TV. Anything else?
I think that covers the main bases, at least for now.
I'm feeling pretty good. Like I could set up my own IPTV system now.
You absolutely could. But remember, the key is finding what works best for you.
Right. No one-size-fits-all solution.
Exactly. Personalize it. Make it your own. That's the beauty of IPTV.
I like that. Taking ownership of my entertainment instead of just being a passive consumer.
That's what it's all about. All right, so this section, we got into the weeds a bit.
We did, but in a good way. I feel like I learned a lot.
Good. We talked app settings, content sources, even the impact of your environment.
And the human element, too. Remembering that it's about my preferences, not just the tech.
Exactly. Making the tech work for you, not the other way around.
Love it. All right, so where do we go from here?
Now it's time to wrap things up, bring it all together, some key takeaways and final thoughts.
Sounds good. I'm ready for that. Okay, so back for the final round, our last look at this whole IPTV thing.
Yeah, we've really gone through it all, haven't we? From the basics, like internet speed and which devices to use.
Those nitty-gritty app settings, even stuff about our TVs.
Right, and don't forget, we talked about figuring out your own viewing habits, too.
Oh yeah, that was interesting, realizing how much that impacts the choices you make.
Definitely, because IPTV is all about customizing the experience, right? It's not one size fits all.
Right. It's come a long way, you know. Used to be this niche thing, now it's like a real alternative to cable.
Absolutely, and as it's gotten more popular, people expect more from it, too.
Makes sense, higher quality, more control, all that.
Exactly, and that's why we did this deep dive, to break it all down, help people make smart choices.
So let's recap. If someone's brand new to this, where do they even start?
First things first, Gotta check that internet connection. Is it stable? Is it fast enough?
Okay, so that's our foundation. Internet's got to be solid.
Then think about your devices. What have you got? A smart TV, a streaming stick, whatever it is.
Right. Got to make sure it can actually handle IPTV. Some are better than others.
Yep. Then comes the fun part, looking at all the different apps.
Oh, yeah. So many options. Smart IPTV, XCIPTV, TiviMate. We talked about those.
Honestly, there's no single best one. It's all about what you need, how you use it.
Some are simple. Some are more for power users, right?
Exactly. And some are free. Some you got to pay for. Got to weigh those pros and cons.
All right. So internet, devices, apps. Then we need the actual content, the channels and shows.
And that's where picking a good provider comes in. Got to do your research there.
Because there are good ones and bad ones, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. Look for lots of channels, good quality streams, and decent customer support.
Makes sense. Don't want to get stuck with a bunch of channels I don't even want that are always buffering.
Exactly. And try before you buy. Lots of providers have free trials. See if you like it.
Okay, so we've got our setup. But what about all those optimization tips we discussed?
Those are important, but I'd say get the basics working first, then start tweaking.
So, like fine-tuning the engine once the car's running.
Perfect analogy. Play around with those app settings. See what works best for you.
Like test things out, experiment a bit.
And don't forget, the quality of the content source matters too. Some providers are just better.
So it's an ongoing process, always looking for ways to improve the experience.
Exactly. IPTV is not static. It's always evolving, and so should your setup.
I think the biggest takeaway for me is this isn't as complicated as it seemed at first.
It can be overwhelming with all the options and tech talk, but it doesn't have to be.
With a little know-how, anyone can set this up, get a great personalized entertainment system.
That's what it's all about, putting you in control of what you watch, how you watch it.
All right, well, I think we've reached the end of our IPTV journey. What a ride.
It has been a lot of information. Hopefully it's all been helpful.
I learned a ton, and I'm feeling way more confident about diving into IPTV now.
That's what we hoped for. So go forth, explore, and most importantly, enjoy.
And remember, this is just the beginning. Stay curious, keep learning. The world of IPTV is waiting.